3, 2, 1. We have ignition and liftoff of the United Launch Alliance Atlas V rocket.
Go Atlas. Go Centaur. Go Kuiper.
Good evening and welcome to live coverage of ULA's Atlas V launch of Amazon's inaugural Project Kuiper mission. I'm Caleb Weiss, a systems engineer at ULA, and I'm joined by Britt Porcelli, a propulsion engineer. Great to be with you tonight, Britt.
Thanks, Caleb. What an awesome day to be here at. We're joining you live from ULA's Advanced Spaceflights Operations Center here at Cape Canaveral Space Force Station in Florida. Liftoff is scheduled for 7 p.m. Eastern at the opening of today's 2-hour launch window. Launch windows vary by mission and are determined by the payload's destination. Today's mission is going to low Earth orbit, or LEO as we refer to it, and has multiple orbit insertion opportunities. So for today's flight, if the rocket and the payload are ready, and if weather permits, we'll have a liftoff of Atlas at 7 p.m.
And Britt, that's great to hear that we have a 2-hour window. You and I have both been on console a lot. Sometimes we have missions with really short windows or even instantaneous. So to know that we have a couple extra hours to work through any issues, if there are any, is a great place to be with this launch window tonight. So we'll be covering today's mission through the start of the second stage first engine burn. For additional real-time mission coverage, follow along with our live blog at ulalaunch.com. And if you enjoy watching our live broadcasts, which who doesn't like watching rocket launches, don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel for access to future missions, launch highlights, and behind-the-scenes rocket content.
At this time, the team is working towards a 7 p.m. liftoff. However, the weather remains a challenge. So let's jump over to Brian Sizak for a weather update.
Thanks, guys, and certainly a lot to talk about from a weather perspective tonight here on the Space Coast of Florida. So here's what we're dealing with right now. Here's a live look at satellite with radar data overlaid on top of it. Notice there are these showers that are off the coast. This is thanks to this area of low pressure that's spitting off the Atlantic coast. And notice this convergent band of showers that's kind of setting up and moving right over us. Now, the good news is that this band has pushed a little bit further to the east than the last few hours, but we are currently violating the cumulus cloud rule. So that is because there are some of these showers that are embedded within this band right here that when they get tall enough, there is actually a standoff distance. So it doesn't have to be raining directly at the pad, and that's because they could be electrified, and that's one of our lightning launch commit criteria to prevent natural and rocket triggered lightning strikes. So again, we are no-go for the cumulus cloud rule. But the other issue that we're monitoring as well, in addition to the showers and the cumulus cloud rule, is the wind situation. So that low is bringing in some pretty strong winds coming from the north along the coast here, and you can see these red numbers here. So this is gusts in miles per hour. So currently we're seeing gusts near the pad here in the low 30s miles per hour. So we're monitoring that situation. It has come down a little bit in the last couple of hours, but still elevated right now. So we're getting the showers and the associated strong winds associated with this low that is sitting off the coast. So we're going to need the showers to push a little bit farther to the east, and we're also going to need these winds to come down as the evening progresses. So some of the model guidance is indicating that the winds are going to come down a little bit, so that's what the launch weather team is going to be monitoring. Currently, our probability of violation is 80% at the opening of the window and trending down to 60% as we go towards the ends of that 2-hour launch window. So not saying that there isn't any hope, and if there is a window of favorable weather, the launch weather team is going to find it. Guys, back to you.
All right, thank you, Brian. They certainly will find it if we can tonight. So this means that as the launch team and the launch clock are getting closer to liftoff, the clock will of time to allow the team to resolve any issues that may occur in the hours leading up to launch.
If you're familiar with launch counts, then you might already know that the L minus time refers to the actual time remaining until launch. And then you'll see the T minus time refers to the time presented on the countdown clock that reflects the hold and is paused for an exact amount of time until this hold is released. It gives our team time to work any issues.
Exactly. By building in this time, we give ourselves a higher probability of an on-time liftoff. And today's countdown, which can be seen in the top left corner of your screen, uses the T minus time. The final hold prior to launch is planned at T minus 4 minutes.
LC switch not ready. LD, LC. LD, LC, that one.
LD on one.
Yes, LD. I'm working a couple of issues. I recommend extending the hold at T-minus 4 minutes. We're going to delay dropping fuel and recommend delaying spacecraft batteries to internal. So our new T0 can be ported.
Concur and LD concurs.
Roger. And prop 1 LC. Prop 1 LC, net 1.
Go for prop 1.
I want to make sure you're aware we're going to delay start of fuel fill sequence.
Affirmative.
Just heard from our And as you just heard from our launch conductor on Channel 1, we are standing by for a new T0. We'll bring you more information as soon as we have it. Right now, we're taking a live look at the Atlas V rocket on the launch pad. As the countdown continues, our team is taking the final steps in preparation for liftoff. The first stage, also known as the rocket's booster stage, is a large tank on the bottom that is actually two tanks, one filled with the RP-1 fuel and the other with the liquid oxygen. And the liquid oxygen is the super cold cryogenic propellant that turns the tank's exterior from bronze to that frosty white. And of course, with the rocket engine, we have the fuel and the oxidizer pumped super fast down in the engine. They mix in the combustion chamber. They're pushed out of the nozzle at super high speeds, and that's what gives the rocket its thrust.
That was perfect. That was a 30-second overview of rocket science right there. Atlas is also equipped with the Centaur upper stage, which drives the payload during the second phase of flight to its final orbital destination in space. The payload fairing, or PLF as we refer to it, completes the rocket and provides this aerodynamic shape necessary for the climb to space. On the upper stage in the PLF, we'll see the logos for Amazon, Atlas, and ULA, as well as the American flag. Let's learn more about how ULA builds the Atlas V rocket.
Engineered in Centennial, Colorado, ULA's Atlas V rocket is built in Decatur, Alabama, and launched from Cape Canaveral, Florida. Once the rocket is manufactured, it travels to Cape Canaveral on ULA's cargo ship, known as Rocket Ship. After arriving in Florida, ULA's launch operations team begins assembling the rocket. Stacking begins with lifting the 107-foot Atlas booster, powered by an RD-180 engine, onto the mobile launch platform. For Amazon missions, 5 solid rocket boosters are attached to the sides of the first stage for additional thrust at liftoff. ULA's ultra-thin stainless steel Centaur upper stage, powered by an RL-10 engine, is then lifted into position. Lastly, the payload fairing, containing the spacecraft, is lifted and mated to the Atlas V rocket. Once assembled, the countdown begins with moving the rocket from the vertical integration facility to the launch pad. The trip to the pad is about 1/3 of a mile. Throughout the 20-minute trip, a payload van leads the move, providing communication with the spacecraft, followed by the ground van providing support to the rocket. The mobile launch platform supplies air conditioning, electrical, and propellant lines to the rocket. Trackmobiles at the rear power the convoy, which includes an environmental control system providing air conditioning to the payload and rocket, as well as a backup generator. Atlas arrives at the pad for fueling and other final preparations, and once fueled, weighs nearly 1.3 million pounds and stands 205 feet tall.
Today's mission is just the start of ULA launches to deliver Amazon's Kuiper satellites to orbit. Let's learn more about Project Kuiper and what they've been doing to prepare for offering internet connectivity from space.
It all starts with a countdown. But a countdown to what exactly? 6 years ago, we took on a journey to build the most advanced and the most modern communication system in the world. There are almost 3 billion people that don't have high-speed connectivity. Imagine if they had the ability to be connected just like you and I do, what they could do, what contributions they could make.
This mission is ambitious for a truly worthy cause. It's going to impact communities that cannot be reached with fiber traditional communications. The solution really has to be from space.
You can think of Project Kuiper as a 3-part system: the satellite constellation, the customer terminal, and just as critically, the ground network and software that ultimately deliver connectivity. We have set out to design the most advanced satellite network ever built, and we have created the whole thing in-house at Amazon. You need just about every technology area to contribute to build the satellite: the propulsion system, the solar arrays, the silicon, the phased array antennas, the optical inter-satellite links.
The team has to be innovative, agile, resilient as we're moving very, very fast. Building, testing, developing in-house has been an extraordinary ingredient.
When we first proposed Project Kuiper internally, one of the first questions was, can you produce an affordable customer terminal? We knew that was going to be the linchpin of our system.
The big breakthrough for us was combining transmit and receive antennas into a single aperture. No one had ever done this in the Ka-band. That let us pack a ton of performance into a really compact, really low-cost design. We're going to build tens of millions of these antennas, and we are well on our way. The design is done. We're now in the factory manufacturing it.
We talk about the satellites and constellation, but Kuiper is a satellite constellation being operated as a network across hundreds of ground gateway terminals.
Our ground network is spread out all over the world, and each site connects back to AWS. We already have a bunch of these sites installed everywhere from Australia to Germany, and more of them are coming online every month.
There's a big difference between launching 2 satellites and launching 3,000 satellites.
The past couple of years, my team has really been focused on how to achieve scale. Our own dedicated payload processing facility gives us the ability to control our own destiny. We've got the capacity to integrate up to 5 satellites per day and launch 3 simultaneous campaigns. Heavy lift rockets have higher performance, so we can take more satellites to orbit on any given launch. All of our heavy lift launch partners have had a successful first flight, so that's been a pretty exciting thing for us to see because we made those investments years in advance.
All of the pieces have come together to support that first launch, and the next one, and the one after that. It might not all go perfectly, but we have an incredible commitment to this project and an incredible team committed to its mission. All roads lead here, a countdown to launch. And with more than 80 missions planned, we're just getting started.
This is Atlas Mission Control. We are currently in a hold due to weather, and we are awaiting a new T0.
LCRC, net 1.
ORC.
We've coordinated the new T023:40 with the range, and it's been approved.
Roger.
LCAC, net 1.
OAC.
Ready to provide an upbrief on the CLH2 tank pressure soft flow that was reported.
Roger. LD, net 1.
LD.
Proceed, AC.
Yeah, LC, so the team noticed an increase in tank pressure in the CLH2 tank that was simultaneous with the SRV cycle test going on. The pressure got a little higher than we intended it to, but the Flumon test took the appropriate action to bring the tank back down. We have no concerns for vehicle health or proceeding with today's operation. We'll document on the DR to address corrective action in the future and recommend proceeding.
LC concurs. LD.
LD concurs.
LC PNE2. Go PNE2. LH2 conditioning complete. Roger.
And we just received a new T0 of 7:40 p.m. Eastern Time. Our hold is extended due to weather, so let's get an update from Brian Cizik.
Thanks, guys. Yes, and currently we are no-go for the cumulus cloud rule, and we're also monitoring the winds at the ground level as well. So here's why we're no-go for the cumulus cloud rule. Notice these showers that are off the coast here. Now, they're not directly over the launch pad, which is about right here, but because they're fairly tall, they could hold a charge. And actually, if they get to a certain level, the minus 20 Celsius level, it's a 10 nautical mile standoff from the launch pad and the flight path. So that's likely what we're dealing with here. These are pretty tall showers. So the launch weather team is monitoring this. We're watching the motion here. So notice that they are pushing to the south and maybe a little bit to the east. So if we could get these to push a little bit farther to the east and get outside of that 10 nautical mile range, we could potentially clear that cumulus cloud rule. Now, we're also watching some more showers that are developing farther to the north. Now, again, they look like they're trying to push a little bit farther to the east. But again, the team will be monitoring these other showers that are starting to come in from the north. And then if we switch to winds, this is the other weather factor that we're monitoring here tonight. So notice the red numbers here. So that is the gusts right along these our weather towers here at the Cape and KSC. We're monitoring the wind. So notice that the gusts are in the low to mid 30s. We're seeing some peaks miles per hour. So again, we're going to need some of those gusts to come down in addition to the showers pushing a little bit farther away from the launch pad. So those are the two factors. It does look like it is improving marginally as we go towards the end of the window. So again, the POV currently 80% at the opening of the window, but as we push later, it does look like it improves a little bit. So that's what the team's going to be watching. Again, as I mentioned, if we can find a gap in the weather and if we can find some good conditions, the launch weather team will give that go call. So guys, back to you.
Thanks, Brian. As you heard, we're going to take a pause in our live broadcast so we can work closer towards our T0. Hopefully, the weather will clear up in this time being, and we'll see you shortly.
LC, this is RLM11. Go RLM. The 4 Delta P values for LH2 are now back within band. Roger, you have a code to clear them. Active. LC, this is RLM11. Go RLM. Alarms have been acknowledged. Roger.
LC Fuel 2.
Go ahead, Fuel 2.
First step 660. Centaur LH2 is at 99.8% at 2310 Zulu.
Roger.
LC Fuel 2.
Go Fuel 2.
First step 700. Centaur LH2 has been above 99.8% for 5 minutes.
Roger. PNA2, LC.
Go ahead, Pete. Go ahead, LC.
Perform Centaur LH2 SUV cycle test.
Roger. LCP2.
Go PNA2.
Centaur Cryo SEV cycle test is complete.
Roger. OSLC.
This is on.
Perform data transfer to backup CCLS.
Roger.
Oh, minus 20 minutes.
LC, LOX 1.
Go LOX 1.
Atlas LO2 remains at flight level.
Roger.
LC, LOX 2.
Go.
Centaur LO2 at flight level.
Roger.
LC Fuel 2.
Go Fuel 2.
Centaur LH2 at flight level.
Roger.
LC, this is LD on 1.
Go LD.
Please coordinate a new T0 of 00:03.
Roger. 0003.
Good copy. Thank you.
ALC. LC.
Go ahead.
Please set the clock for a new T0 0003.
Roger.
RCLC.
RCN1.
Please coordinate with the range a new T0 of 0003.
Roger, Wilco.
LD, LC at 1.
LD.
Yeah, LD, our launch vehicle issues are resolved. We are just currently red on winds at this time.
Thank you, LC. LC, ALC.
Go.
Countdown clock has been set for a new T0 of 03000.
Roger. All right, for the team, for our new T0, L count is L minus 41 minutes. And SCI, LC, channel 1.
This is SC on 1, filling in for SCI.
Okay, yeah, just want to make sure where the T0 change.
Yep, they copied that.
Roger.
And as you just heard, we do have a new T0 of 8:03 p.m. Eastern Time. We will remain in a hold due to weather and resume the show as soon as possible when we are closer to launch.
LC, RC, Channel 1. Go RC. The range has approved our new T0 of 00:03 Zulu.
Roger. L minus 20 minutes.
LC, this is LD on 1.
Go LD.
Please coordinate a new T0 of 00:22.
Roger, 0022 Zulu.
Good copy.
ALC, LC.
Go ahead.
Please set the clock for a new T00022 Zulu.
Roger.
RC, LC.
RC on 1.
Please coordinate with the range, new T00022 Zulu.
Roger, Wilco.
LC, ALC.
Go.
Contact clock has been set for new T0 of 00:22 Zulu.
Roger. All right, for the team, we're at L minus 37 minutes.
LC, RC, that one.
Go RC.
Roger, the new T000:22 has been coordinated approved by the range.
Roger.
Welcome back. We're joining you from ULA's Advanced Spaceflight Operations Center here at Cape Canaveral Space Force Station in Florida. We're continuing to work to our new T0 of 8:22 p.m. Eastern Time.
Yeah, and there are a lot of things that go into planning a new T0. Vehicle readiness, waiting for weather like we are right now. Launch vehicle looks good. One of the other things that we always look at is collision avoidance, or as we abbreviate it, COLAs. And in this case, you might wonder, how do we end up with an 8:22 p.m. or before that it was an 8:03 p.m. And that's really because we're always planning to make sure that when we launch, there's nothing else in the area as we get up on orbit that we're not having any sort of chance of coming even close to anything else on orbit. So we always time our launches to make sure that we're launching at a time where we don't have any issues with a collision in space. And so that's really why we ended up with an 8:22 p.m. T0 for tonight.
That's great. It's like we're organizing a great space dance between intergalactic traffic and making sure that everybody's in the right place at the right time. So we're lucky that we have our launch coordinators on top of that, and we're working towards the new T0 of 8:22 Eastern Time. So as we remain in this hold due to weather, as we mentioned, let's check back in with Launch Weather Officer Brian Sizek.
Thanks, guys. And unfortunately, we haven't seen the weather trend as favorably as we were hoping. So let's take a live look at radar right now. You can see there's this stubborn convergent band of showers that's remaining just inside our 10 nautical mile ring from the launch pad, which is about right here. And so some of these clouds are getting above the minus 20 Celsius altitude, which is over 20,000 feet. And because of that, they have to be outside of the 10 nautical mile ring from the launch pad. So you can see we were hoping they'd push a little bit further to the east, but they've almost trended a little bit further to the west, closer to the pad. So that's why we haven't been able to clear this cumulus cloud rule. Again, those clouds could have electrification that could potentially trigger a lightning strike. So that's why this rule exists, to prevent a rocket-triggered lightning strike. And we're also monitoring the winds as well. So it's the cumulus cloud rule and elevated winds. So you can see we are maybe seeing a little bit of a drop down in some of these wind speeds. We are still seeing a few gusts in the low 30s, but a lot now getting into the 20s. So maybe trending down a little bit in the winds, but we're going to need that trend to continue. So we're still watching those showers just off the coast, and we need these winds to come down as well. So guys, we'll be watching, and again, if we can get the weather to clear, the launch weather team will find that opportunity and call the go call. Back to you.
Thanks, Brian. Here we've got a live shot of Jetty Beach. So we have a lot of beachgoers out there sitting on the sands and taking their time to hopefully view a launch later this evening.
Yeah, and even though we would have loved to launch at the opening of the window, you know, as the sun goes down, it does make for some really spectacular launches, especially with those 5 SRBs. If we launch tonight, these folks are going to think the sun is coming up. It's going to be so bright.
Definitely. Well, now we're taking a live look at the mighty Atlas V on the pad. It's really crazy to think about that all 27 Kuiper satellites are tucked in nicely into that PLF.
It is, and it's not just any PLF. It's the largest one we fly today. It's 77 feet tall. Like you said, all 27 Kuipers in there. And then again, with the 5 SRBs, this really is the largest Atlas configuration that we currently have in our fleet today. And so it's going to be really rocking when we launch. It's going to shake the whole building as it flies, as it lifts off.
Definitely. We're all maxed out on SRBs. You can have a configuration change of either 1 to 5. And each of these SRBs are adding 375,000 pounds of thrust. So when you combine that with the main engine, you get almost 2.7 million pounds at liftoff.
And we just saw the SRBs there. Now we're looking at an engine shot. You can see the 2 engine bells of the RD-180, as well as those 5 SRB nozzles just hanging out right under our mobile launch platform. And a lot of smoke and fire going down into that flame trench as soon as all that ignites at T0.
Oh, definitely. You'll hear us say we have ignition, and then the whole frame will light up. You'll see all that fire and smoke come out, and then hopefully we'll see a grand Atlas liftoff into the horizon.
And now the boil off. You know, again, we talked about the liquid oxygen, the cryogenic fuel, both on the booster as well as the upper stage being both liquid hydrogen and liquid oxygen. And so those are cryogenic. They're, you know, -200 to -450 degrees Fahrenheit. So at those temperatures, it boils here in Florida at room temperature. It's 70 so outside, and so you're seeing that boil off. So we are constantly replenishing those propellants. They're constantly boiling off, and to keep the tanks full, we're just adding more and more throughout the hold here to make sure that when we lift off, we are fully fueled and ready to go.
Oh, yeah.
ALC. Countdown clock has
We've
been
just heard from our mission control that we now have a new T0. The new T0 is 8:39 Eastern Time.
And just a reminder, we do have a 2-hour window tonight, so we do have window remaining, even with the T0 being rescheduled due to the weather delay. Looking at a live look at the Launch Control Center here in Cape Canaveral. Engineers all continuing to intently watch their data throughout the hold and monitor the vehicle as we proceed through the weather delay.
There's nothing like being on console, Caleb. You really get this excitement of sitting there, all of the tension and all of the hard work that's really cultivated to this moment here. You know, everyone's focused. We're making sure all of our systems are in line when we do get that new T0 due to weather. And it's never quite like, you know, the excitement of launch day. It's unmatched, I tell you.
Absolutely. It's just like you said, everybody's worked so hard to get to this point. You know, sometimes you got to just wait for things out of your control, like the weather, which is what we're doing tonight. But everybody still very focused and ready to go if that weather window opens up tonight.
And even if we do have a 2-hour window, you know, at the beginning of the window, we would have gotten that launch right around the sunset time, but night launches are also equally spectacular. You really do get to light up the sky. You feel the whole building shaking. You really hear that power of those SRBs with those main engines, the RD-180s, and you get a good liftoff out of Earth's atmosphere. So night launches are equally as cool. You've got the bright, shiny, you know, star coming through, and nothing like an Atlas V launch.
Yeah. And we're now looking at the Mission Directors Center. So we have our Amazon customer as well as our Space Force customer in there monitoring the launch. And this is the management team who is making all the decisions on what our new T0s are, making sure that we're proceeding through the count and doing all of the final polls and giving that final go up till launch, as well as our Engineering Support Center here in the ASOC.
LC, RC, channel 1.
Go RC.
The range is approved our new T0 of 00:39.
Roger.
This is Atlas Mission Control at T-minus 4 minutes and holding. ULA's new Vulcan rocket was recently certified by the U.S. Space Force to launch critical missions for the U.S. government. Let's take a look back at the Vulcan certification flights.
Status check. Proceed with terminal count. Vulcan system. Propulsion.
Go.
Hydraulics.
Go.
Pneumatics.
Go.
LNG.
Go.
LO2.
Go.
Water.
Go.
Centaur systems. Propulsion.
Go.
Pneumatics.
Go.
LO2.
Go.
LH2.
Go.
ASGAS.
Go.
Op safety manager. Go. ULA safety officer.
Go.
Vehicle systems command.
Go.
Anomaly chief. Go. Range coordinator.
Clear to proceed.
Launch director.
You have permission to launch.
We have ignition. And liftoff of the first United Launch Alliance Vulcan rocket, launching a new era in spaceflight to the moon and beyond.
And the vehicle has cleared the tower. Separation of both SRBs. We have Vulcan Centaur separation. Everything looking good. Ignition, full thrust. Both engines are up and running. Cut off.
We have engine ignition. And liftoff of the United Launch Alliance Vulcan rocket, carrying ULA's legacy of reliability, orbital accuracy, and high energy performance.
Vehicle has cleared the tower, and both SRBs are at max thrust. Vehicle is looking good right down the range track. Everything looking up. VE4 performing as expected. All temperatures and pressures good. Vehicle has begun its pitch and draw program. And bearing jettison has been indicated.
This is Atlas Mission Control. We have plenty of exciting launches coming up here in 2025, but 2024 had a memorable year for ULA. Along with 2 Vulcan launches, we launched humans for the first time with the first crewed flight test. We celebrated our 100th national security launch with the USSF 51 mission and said goodbye to the Delta vehicle with our final Delta IV Heavy liftoff carrying NROL 70. Let's take a look back at these very exciting missions.
Go Vulcan. Go Centaur. Go Peregrine.
And liftoff of the first United Launch Alliance Vulcan rocket, launching a new era in spaceflight.
Liftoff of the final United Launch Alliance Delta IV Heavy rocket, closing Delta's 6-decade legacy of excellence in space.
And liftoff of Starliner and Atlas V, carrying 2 American heroes.
We have Starliner separation.
Liftoff of USSF 51 for the United States Space Force on ULA's 100th National Security Mission.
Go Vulcan. Go Centaur. Go Cirque.
Liftoff of the United Launch Alliance Vulcan rocket, carrying ULA's legacy of reliability, orbital accuracy, and high energy performance.
And fairing jettison has been indicated.
This is Atlas Mission Control with T-minus 4 minutes and holding. Atlas rockets have launched many of the world's vital space assets. Let's take a look at the impressive legacy of the Atlas family of rockets.
And the RD-180 engine roars to life. And liftoff of the maiden flight of the Atlas V rocket with a Hotbird 6 spacecraft on board.
As the inaugural flight of the Atlas V lifted off on August 21, 2002, it carried with it the dreams and aspirations of thousands of rocket pioneers who had laid the foundation that made it possible. Atlas V continues the Atlas legacy of innovation and accomplishment that has been vital to our nation for more than half a century. Named after the mighty giant of Greek mythology who carried the world on his shoulders, Atlas was conceived as a weapon and a deterrent, but evolved into a system that pushed the envelope with trailblazing innovation and steadfast reliability. At the request of the Air Force, Charlie Bossert and his San Diego-based engineering team began work on a demanding set of requirements to design an intercontinental ballistic missile capable of delivering a 1,500-pound warhead to a target 5,500 miles away. Their answer, which became known as Atlas, was the top national priority in 1955 as the race with the Soviets engulfed the country. On June 11, 1957, the first Atlas flight lifted off from Space Launch Complex 14 at Cape Canaveral, Florida. The flight ended 38 seconds later, but Bossart's team had taken the first step and proven the structural integrity of their innovative pressure-stabilized steel tank. Complete success for the Air Force and Bossart's team would come just 5 months later, on December 17, 1957.
Go, honey, keep going, baby.
Though the Soviets had beaten the U.S. to space with the launch of Sputnik in October 1957, President Eisenhower would counter a year later when Atlas 10B delivered his holiday message of peace from orbit 180 miles above Earth. Known as Project SCORE, the orbiting Atlas booster became the world's first communication satellite.
This is the President of the United States speaking. Through the marvels of scientific advance, my voice is coming to you from a satellite circling in outer space.
Attention all personnel, report to the blockhouse immediately. Countdown will begin.
On September 9, 1959, Atlas 12D became America's first operational ICBM, following launch from California's Vandenberg Air Force Base. In all, 350 Atlas ICBMs were built and stood on operational alert through 1965. The surplus boosters were refurbished and used by the Air Force, the Army, the Navy, and NASA. The last refurbished booster was launched in 1995. By the early 1960s, the Atlas booster had made the transition from missile to space launch vehicle, and 1962 proved to be a pivotal year. Riding atop an Atlas booster in Project Mercury's Friendship 7 capsule, John Glenn became the first American to orbit the Earth on February 20th, 1962. Three additional Mercury flights, carrying astronauts Scott Carpenter, Wally Schirra, and Gordon Kuiper, set the stage for the Gemini flights and the Apollo missions to the Moon. Later that year, Atlas scored another first when Atlas 179D, equipped with an Agena upper stage, lifted off from Space Launch Complex 12 at Cape Canaveral. Its payload, NASA's Mariner 2, became the first successful interplanetary spacecraft. 1962 also marked the debut of the Centaur upper stage, the first to harness the power of liquid hydrogen. The Centaur upper stage, to this day, remains a hallmark of the Atlas system. Together, with its Agena and Centaur upper stages, the Atlas booster went on to play a significant role in America's exploration of the solar system, launching virtually every exploration mission in the 1960s and 1970s.
It was the first spacecraft that was launched from Earth that had enough energy to escape the entire solar system.
During the late 1970s and 1980s, Atlas continued to play important roles in the development of our nation's space program. In addition to building our national security presence in space, converted Atlas boosters also launched the Air Force's Navstar demonstration satellites, leading to the navigation system known today as GPS. In the late 1980s, General Dynamics saw an opportunity to bring commercial payloads back to expendable launch vehicles, and on July 25, 1990, AC-69, the first Atlas I, ushered in a new commercial era for Atlas. The commercial era brought 8 new Atlas configurations over a 14-year span, each carrying an operational payload. The commercial program has enabled breakthroughs in communications, meteorology, broadcast technology, navigation, and national security. In 1995, development of the Atlas III vehicle began. In a bold move, the Atlas booster engine system was replaced with the powerful RD-180, which generates 860,000 pounds of thrust and has throttle capability resulting in a smoother and more efficient ride. Making its debut from Space Launch Complex 36 on May 24, 2000, the Atlas III provided a substantial performance improvement over the Atlas IIAS. Reliability was increased by reducing the number of engines from 8 to 2 and the elimination of 5 staging events, as well as more than 10,000 parts.
This is Atlas Mission Control on T-minus.
In 1998, the Atlas team embarked on a development project for the United States Air Force that would forever change the Atlas vehicle.
And the RD-180 engine roars to life. And liftoff of the maiden flight of the Lockheed Martin Atlas V rocket with a Hotbird 6 spacecraft on board for Eutelsat in Paris, France.
For more than 40 years, Atlas vehicles had relied on the pressure-stabilized steel tank developed by Charlie Bossert and his team. In a departure from conventional thinking, the Atlas V development replaced the tank with a structurally stable common core booster. In addition to vehicle modifications, the team took a new approach to processing and launch. Atlas V processing is done vertically, and the mobile service tower has been replaced by a mobile launch platform, which carries the entire assembled vehicle to the launch pad, ready to fuel and launch. The Atlas V is expanded to multiple payload fairing and solid rocket booster configurations, as well as re-establishing a launch capability from the West Coast at Vandenberg Air Force Base. The Atlas vehicle has a long legacy of accomplishment. This record of success, which is nearly unparalleled in the launch industry, is built on the lessons handed down for more than 60 years of Atlas experience. It is also a credit to the dedication and persistence of the Atlas team and their passion for mission success, one launch at a time.
Five nine Zulu.
Roger. 0059 Zulu. ALC, LC.
Go ahead.
Please set the clock for a new T0 of 0059 Zulu.
Roger.
RC, LC.
Go for RC.
Please coordinate with the range new T0 of 0059 Zulu.
Roger. In work.
LC, ALC.
Go.
Countdown clock has been set for new T0 of 0059 Zulu.
Roger. All right, the team, the clock is counting L minus 37, 7 minutes.
LC has guess.
Go.
Yeah, we've run into a slight issue where we've lost connection with the VNC on the laptop. It appears that the server is still running on the desktop in the lower PEB. There's been no interruption of ASGAS scanning. We're going to go through some steps such as closing out, restarting the VNC, or switching networks to see if we can get that connection back.
All right, yeah, and so are we getting data?
We are still getting data, yes.
Roger that. Okay, report to me when you're complete with your investigation.
Copy.
LC, RC.
RC.
Range has approved our new T0 of 00:59.
Roger.
And as you heard a moment ago, we do have a new T0 of 8:59 Eastern. We've pushed to the end of the window to see if we can get that weather to open up for us. So let's go get another check from Launch Weather Officer Brian Sizik.
Thanks, guys. And we still have not seen a great trend, but the best chance we have to get this weather to clear is at the end of the window. So that's why the launch team, they've been in communication with the launch weather team that is on console right now, and they are obviously monitoring the situation very closely. But again, here is what we've been dealing with all night, really. We have this convergent band of showers, that north to south oriented band that's moving. Kind of the whole line is pushing a little bit to the south. Now, we were hoping it would push farther off to the east, but notice it's progressed a little bit closer to the pad. But there's actually another way that we can clear this cumulus cloud rule, and that's if the tops of these showers get lower and the showers begin to dissipate. So the two ways, they could either push farther away from the pad, or they could weaken, where if the tops get low enough, that standoff distance actually gets smaller and smaller. So in other words, they can be farther away from the pad, or excuse me, they can get closer to the pad, and if the showers are weaker, then we don't have to be concerned about them. So those are the two ways that we could clear the cumulus cloud rule. We're also monitoring the winds as well, and as we take a live look at some of the winds we're seeing, notice we're still seeing winds in the upper 20s to low 30s miles per hour. These are gusts at the surface. The launch pad is right around here, so we're also monitoring winds up a few hundred feet as well. So again, the two things we need to clear that the launch weather team is going to be monitoring up until the wire here at our last T0 in the window, the cumulus cloud rule and the winds. Guys, back to you.
Thank you, Brian.
This is Atlas Mission Control with T-minus 4 minutes and holding. Following liftoff, viewers watching the launch from Florida and points north and east might be able to see the Atlas V in flight. Let's get a closer look at the visibility map. Check it out at ULA Launch on social media.
This is Atlas Mission Control. We continue to be at T-minus 4 minutes and holding. ULA also launches Vulcan rockets here in Cape Canaveral, Florida. Let's take a look around.
With spacecraft launched to every planet in the solar system, in addition to critical national security, science, weather, commercial, and human space missions, ULA has a long-standing industry reputation for reliability and orbit accuracy. At our launch site in Cape Canaveral, Florida, the story begins with ULA's Atlas and Vulcan rockets arriving on the RS rocket ship. Rocket ship is a specially designed cargo ship used to transport rockets from ULA's more than 2 million square foot production campus in Decatur, Alabama. Once rocket ship arrives at Port Canaveral, the team offloads and transports the rocket to the pad. Launch site processing begins with Launch Vehicle on Stand, or LVOS. The 107-foot Atlas V boosters and 109-foot Vulcan boosters are transported and hoisted into a vertical position using a crane. Atlas is lifted onto the mobile launch platform, while Vulcan is lifted onto the Vulcan launch platform. With the boosters in place on the launch platforms, solid rocket boosters are added next, followed by stacking of the interstage adapter and Centaur second stage. Meanwhile, the ULA team works simultaneously to help the customer encapsulate their payload into the rocket's payload fairing. The encapsulated payload fairing is the final piece to be mated to the rocket. With the rocket stack complete, the final launch preps begin. Launch countdowns begin with moving the launch platform from the VIV to the pad. Weighing in at about 2 million pounds, the launch platform supports the rocket and contains air conditioning, electrical, and commodities, while the undercarriages bear the weight of the launch platform and rocket. Leading the move are vans providing communication and support to the spacecraft and rocket. Trackmobiles at the rear power the convoy, which also includes an environmental control system providing air conditioning to the payload and rocket, as well as a backup generator. On launch day, more than 24 engineers and managers are polled for system status and readiness to proceed.
Status check to proceed with terminal count.
This is the final status check before launch of all Atlas and Vulcan vehicle systems, ground systems, the spacecraft, and the U.S. Space Force Eastern Range.
Umbilicals. Go. ECS.
The vehicle
Go.
system readiness
Redline
poll
loader.
includes electrical
Go.
systems,
Quality.
hydraulics,
Go.
pneumatics,
Top safety.
propulsion systems,
Go.
flight control, and propellants.
Go.
If the rocket is ready for flight and the weather is within the launch commit criteria, polling is completed and the team gives the go for launch.
Status check. Go Vulcan. Go Centaur. Go Atlas. Go Centaur. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Main engines and solid rocket boosters ignite to lift the rocket off the pad.
We have ignition.
Shortly after liftoff, the rocket begins a pitch over to attain the proper flight path, minimizing the dynamic pressure the vehicle experiences during flight. Within the first few minutes of flight, the vehicle reaches Mach 1, the speed of sound, followed by jettison of the solid rocket boosters. Minutes later, propellant levels deplete and the booster engine shuts down, followed by release of the booster stage. At various times in flight, depending on the mission, the vehicle jettisons its payload fairing. From there, the Centaur second stage carries the spacecraft towards its destination with planned engine starts and stops. Finally, Centaur releases the spacecraft in its target orbit to continue its journey.
This is Atlas Mission Control, still holding at T-minus in 4 minutes. Due to maintenance issues on the Tennessee River, recently ULA's rocket ship needed a creative solution to transport our rockets from our manufacturing facility in Decatur, Alabama, all the way to Cape Canaveral. ULA engineers and technicians devised a plan to load the flight hardware onto the barge and then transfer it back to rocket ship downstream of the maintenance site. Let's take a look at this innovative process.
This is Atlas Mission Control at T-minus 4 minutes and holding. We continue to be in a weather delay. ULA continues to make numerous changes to our factory and launch pads to prepare for an increased launch cadence. The team recently finished assembling a new Vulcan launch platform, or VLP-A, inside a new vertical integration facility, or VIF-A. The A in the acronyms designates Amazon, as these facilities will be used to support Amazon launches. VLP-A will travel along a newly renovated rail system between VIF-A and Space Launch Complex 41 to enable seamless transport of overlapping launch campaigns.
We just received a weather briefing from Brian. Let's toss it over to him so we can hear some more details.
Thanks, guys. Yes, we did just get a weather briefing from the lead launch weather officer on this mission, my colleague Brian Belson. So what he briefed the launch team is we are watching this line of showers. We're getting new radar scans about every 5 minutes or so, and we're watching to see, are these cloud tops coming down at all? Also, are they remaining connected? Because if they're connected, you kind of have to treat the whole line as one and then just use the closest point to the pad. But if we can find some breaks in that line and the taller cloud tops aren't connected to the ones that are closest to the launch pad right here, then we could potentially get out of that violation as well. So we are still no-go for the cumulus cloud rule, but we're watching these new radar scans coming in to see if we could potentially clear it. So he gave an 80% probability of violation, so that's a 20% chance of go by the end of the window and our last T0. But again, there still is a little bit of hope, and that's what we're watching. We need these cloud tops to come down, or we need to see a little break in the connection here where we could potentially get out of the violation that way. So that's what the launch weather team is tracking. This is a minute-by-minute thing that we're monitoring. We're waiting for the new radar scans to come in, and that's what the team is watching, in addition to the winds as well. Guys, back to you.
Thank you, Brian. We've been talking to you for a lot of the time tonight, so we always appreciate the weather updates and keeping all of our team here at the LCC and watching all informed. So we're still sitting here at T-minus 4 minutes and counting. To celebrate our new Vulcan rocket, we recently updated the lobby at ULA headquarters in Centennial, Colorado. Let's take a look.
LC, this is LD on 1.
Go LD.
I am directing a launch scrub for today's operations. Please proceed with preparations for an extended turnaround with the next launch attempt under review.
Roger, LD. All right, team, direct operation 60, or excuse me.
This is Atlas Mission Control. It is confirmed that we will not continue with the Amazon Project Kuiper 1 launch activities today. We will work with our partners at the U.S. Space Force Space Launch Delta 45 for the timing of our next launch opportunity. For up-to-date information, please visit us at ulalaunch.com. I'm Caleb Weiss, and for Britt Porcelli, thanks for joining us today.